Brittany enjoys a quiet evening in her Albuquerque home, sipping fresh tea. Suddenly, a tablet notification breaks the silence. An anonymous profile sends a message knowing exactly what she just drank. Attached is a voice note with a completely flat, silent waveform. The chilling realization sets in. A stranger is watching her daily routine. Instead of panicking, the retiree takes a deep breath. She refuses to let fear win. This story explores how one observant woman reclaims her digital independence and secures her sanctuary against an unseen online stalker. Discover the calm, empowering steps taken to close the digital door forever. The living room was dim and quiet, filled with the soft ticking of the hallway clock and the gentle hum of the refrigerator. Brittany sat in her favorite armchair, enjoying the peaceful Albuquerque evening. A warm cup of tea rested on the side table, sending gentle curls of steam into the cool air. The house felt like a safe sanctuary after a long day of gardening and reading. She had lived in this neighborhood for over 30 years, knowing every neighbor and every creak of the floorboards. Suddenly, the tablet on the coffee table chimed. The sharp, electronic sound broke the comfortable silence. Brittany picked up the device, adjusting her reading glasses. A direct message waited from an unknown profile. The sender had no picture and a strange random string of letters for a name. The message text was brief but terrifying. It stated that the tea must be hot. A cold chill ran down her spine. How did the stranger know about the tea? She whispered the question to the empty room, her voice barely carrying over the ticking clock. Attached to the message was a voice note. Brittany tapped the play button. Nothing happened. The audio waveform on the screen was completely flat. It was a silent, empty recording. The flat line looked like a technical glitch, but the intent was clear. Someone was watching the house. Someone knew the exact daily routine. Brittany stood up slowly, her joints stiff from sitting. She walked to the front door and checked the deadbolt out of pure habit. The lock was secure. The physical house was safe, but the digital boundary felt broken. She had always been careful with her devices, keeping passwords written in a small notebook and never clicking on strange links. Yet this felt different. This felt personal. She returned to the armchair, her heart beating a little faster. The tablet screen glowed in the dark room. The flat waveform seemed to mock her privacy. She refused to feel panic. Panic would only give the stranger power. She took a deep, steady breath, filling her lungs with the familiar scent of lavender from the nearby diffuser. Her thumb hovered over the block button. She spoke firmly to the dark room, declaring a refusal to speak to the unknown watcher. Silence was the best defense. Brittany pressed the power button. The screen went black. The living room returned to total darkness. She sat in the quiet, staring at the window. The stranger was watching, but the digital door was about to close. The silent shadow had arrived, but the fight for independence was just beginning. The next morning, bright sunlight flooded the home office, casting long shadows across the wooden desk. Brittany sat with her laptop, a fresh cup of coffee warming her hands. The house was quiet, yet the digital world felt louder than ever. She opened her social media feed to check her grandchild's recent posts. Hayden had shared a cheerful photo from a local park, showing a bright blue sky and green trees. Brittany smiled, tracing the familiar smile on the screen. But her thumb stopped moving. In the corner of the photo, resting on a park bench, was a distinct ceramic mug. It was the exact same mug Brittany had been drinking from the night before, the one the stranger had mentioned. That mug was a gift from her late sister, a unique piece of pottery with a blue glaze that caught the light. It was never left in public. Seeing it there, in the background of a casual park photo, felt like a violation of her most private spaces. A cold knot formed in her stomach. She navigated to the comments and followers list. There, hidden among the usual friends, was the same anonymous profile with the random string of letters. It was silently following Hayden. The flat, silent waveform from the previous night flashed in her memory. It was not a glitch. It was a map. The stranger was not just watching her house. They were using her family's innocent online moments to track her every move. They used Hayden's photo to find the mug, she whispered, her voice trembling slightly before she squared her shoulders. The realization was chilling. They were not just watching her, they were watching her entire family. Brittany closed the laptop slowly. The bright office suddenly felt like a fishbowl. Her hands remained steady, but her mind raced with the implications. The digital boundary had not just been crossed, it had been weaponized through the people she loved most. She needed to protect her family's digital footprint before the shadow could reach any further. The silent watcher had made a mistake by revealing their method. Now, Brittany knew exactly where to look, but closing this door meant confronting a web that stretched far beyond her own screen. She picked up her phone and dialed Hayden's number, needing to hear a familiar voice. The phone rang 3 times before going to voicemail. She left a brief, calm message asking him to check his privacy settings later that day. Hanging up, she looked out the window at the quiet street. The physical world looked perfectly normal, but the invisible digital threat was growing. She had to act carefully, ensuring her family remained safe without causing unnecessary alarm. The battle for her digital sanctuary was expanding, and she was ready to defend it.
The late afternoon sun cast long, golden shadows across the living room floor, highlighting the dust motes dancing in the quiet air. Brittany sat by the large bay window, her tablet resting securely on her lap. The screen illuminated her face with a soft, pale glow, contrasting with the dimming room. She refreshed the social media feed, looking for a familiar face to anchor her thoughts. Hayden had just posted a new photo. It was a cheerful picture taken outside a local neighborhood cafe, the familiar red brick facade clearly visible in the background. Brittany smiled, admiring the bright sky and the casual joy of the moment. But the smile faded quickly, replaced by a tight knot and unease. A notification chimed from the top of the screen, a sharp electronic sound that shattered the peaceful silence. The anonymous profile had sent another message. Attached was a new flat voice note. The waveform was completely silent, a straight, empty line that mocked her sense of safety. Beside the audio file was a photograph. It was a picture of that exact same cafe, taken from the street just minutes ago. The angle was low, hidden behind a parked car. The stalker was not just watching her home from a distance, they were physically near the places her family visited. A cold knot tightened in her chest, spreading a chill through her shoulders. The digital boundary had become a physical threat. She stared at the image, noting the distinct shadow of a street lamp and the familiar cracked pavement. This was not a random internet troll. This was someone local, someone who knew the exact layout of her neighborhood. The realization made the air in the room feel thin and heavy. She could almost feel eyes on the back of her neck, a phantom presence lingering just beyond the glass. The front door opened quietly, the brass hinges giving a familiar creak. Ryan stepped inside, carrying a small canvas bag of garden tools. He stopped when he saw her face, his weathered features softened with immediate concern. He set the tools down on the entryway bench and walked over, his heavy footsteps grounding her in the present moment. He looked at the glowing tablet screen, then at the front door. "Lock the deadbolt," Ryan said, his voice calm and steady. "I will check the windows." Brittany nodded slowly, appreciating his quiet strength. She placed the tablet face down on the coffee table. The silent waveform was hidden, but the threat remained heavy in the air. She walked to the heavy wooden door and turned the brass lock until it clicked firmly into place. "They are watching us both now," she said, her voice steady despite the chill in the air. Ryan paused, giving a single firm nod. He moved through the house, checking the latches on every window with practiced care, ensuring the physical perimeter was secure. The house was safe, but the digital shadow had stepped into the real world. Brittany knew she could not just hide, she had to close the door completely.
The early evening light faded from the home office, leaving Brittany in the quiet, focused glow of her tablet. She sat at her secure wooden desk, her posture straight and deliberate. The physical house was locked, but the digital boundaries still felt dangerously open. She opened the official reporting tool on the application. Her fingers moved with calm, measured precision, refusing to let fear dictate her actions. She attached the screenshots of the silent voice notes and the chilling photograph of the local cafe. She typed a brief, factual description of the harassment, avoiding emotional language. She submitted the evidence, watching the progress bar fill with a sense of resolute control. Then, she tapped the block button. The screen refreshed. The flat, empty waveform icon vanished completely, replaced by a stark, blocked user screen. The stalker's direct access to her profile was permanently severed. Brittany exhaled a long, steady breath, feeling the tension released from her neck. She navigated to her privacy settings and tightened the visibility to friends only. She removed the location tags from her past posts and restricted who could send her direct messages. She changed her password to a long, complex phrase she wrote down in her secure notebook. The digital walls were finally up, thick and impenetrable. "My digital door is closed to you now," she said softly to the quiet room. She closed the application, her breathing steady and calm. The immediate digital threat was neutralized, and the silent shadow was locked out. But as she set the tablet face down on the desk, her eyes drifted to the framed photo of Hayden on the bookshelf. The stalker was blocked, but they already possessed the photograph of the cafe. They knew exactly where Hayden spent his afternoons. The digital door was closed, but the physical shadow was still out there, walking the same streets as her grandchild. Brittany picked up her cell phone to call him, needing to hear his voice, needing to know he was safe. The line rang endlessly, echoing in the quiet house, before fading into a hollow voicemail greeting. She lowered the phone, staring at the dark window. The digital battle was won, but the real world was still waiting.
The late afternoon sun poured through the kitchen window, casting a warm, golden glow across the wooden countertops. Brittany stood by the stove, listening to the gentle whistle of the kettle. She poured the hot water over a fresh tea bag, watching the steam curl into the quiet air. The house was completely still, wrapped in a peaceful silence that felt entirely different from the heavy, watchful quiet of the previous days. This was her sanctuary, reclaimed and secure. She carried her ceramic mug to the kitchen island and set her tablet face down on the counter. The screen remained dark and silent. There were no sudden chimes, no anonymous messages, and no flat, empty waveforms mocking her privacy. The digital door was firmly shut, and the silent shadow was finally gone from her screen. Brittany took a slow, deep breath, letting the tension melt from her shoulders. She walked to the back door and stepped out onto the patio. The air was crisp and fresh, carrying the faint scent of damped earth and blooming jasmine. In the garden, Ryan was kneeling by the flower beds, methodically pulling weeds from the soil. He wore his usual worn canvas gloves, his movements steady and grounded. The physical world felt solid and real, a comforting contrast to the invisible digital threats that had lingered for days. Brittany leaned against the doorframe, watching him work. The afternoon sun warmed her face, chasing away the last lingering chill of the digital storm. Ryan paused, wiping his brow with the back of his hand. He looked up and offered a warm, reassuring smile. He mentioned that the roses were finally starting to bloom, his voice carrying easily across the yard. Brittany smiled softly, her grip on her warm mug relaxing. She took a sip of her tea, savoring the simple, familiar taste. The boundary had been crossed, but she had rebuilt it stronger than before. She was no longer a monitored target, living in fear of an unseen watcher. She was simply Brittany, standing in her own backyard, entirely in control of her space and her life. The silent shadow had faded into the sunlight, leaving behind a quiet, enduring peace. She walked down the wooden steps and joined Ryan by the flower beds, setting her mug on the patio table. The soil was cool and rich beneath her gardening gloves as she knelt beside him. She reached for a small trowel, turning over a patch of dry earth near the base of the oak tree. The physical labor felt grounding, a stark reminder of the tangible world she controlled. Every pulled weed, every turned stone, was a quiet victory over the invisible intrusion. Ryan handed her a small watering can, nodding toward the newly planted hydrangeas. She watered them carefully, watching the dark soil absorb the moisture. The digital walls she had built were holding strong, keeping the outside noise at bay. Her phone remained in her pocket, silenced and ignored. The afternoon stretched on, peaceful and unhurried. Her home was quiet, her screen was dark, and her life was entirely her own.